Our opening presentation, we have a very special presentation. The presentation is by Bhakthi Marga Swami, popularly known as the Walking Monk. He took to the monk's life in 1973 as a youthful 20-year-old. Prior to becoming a monk, he did his chores on the family farm in Chatham, Ontario, Canada, and was a college student of fine arts. His walks throughout the country are extensively and internationally featured on radio, television, in newspaper, and in film. He'll be speaking on Tales from Trails, putting heart and feet towards a car-free, carefree lifestyle. Please welcome His Holiness Bhakthi Marga Swami, the Walking Monk.
Hello everyone. Haribol. Okay, you understand that language. Good. I would like to begin with, let's say, putting a little bit of a spurt of cheerfulness out there, if you don't mind. Let's start with some yoga, okay? A yoga move I invented, I created, if you're okay with that. All right, so facial yoga is what I call it. Okay, so we would like you to all sit nice and straight and tall. And we would like you to look totally grumpy and miserable, like a truck just hit you, okay? So we're going to go for a transformation, a change, okay? The weather's not been good, but we're going to be cheerful and resilient nevertheless. So please raise your hands up in the air, but above your head, put the palms together and line up the thumbs. Now lower the two palms, and with the thumbs, hit the forehead. Slowly have the thumbs descend and ski slope off the nose and land on the lips. Now you fan out your hands like this, and you simply stretch out like this, and you end up with a big smile. Haribol! Okay. So I've been asked to talk a little bit about Tales from Trails, and this is not a new concept, walking that is. It is something that is a feature of ancient traditions, India included. It's called parikrama, and in the English language we call it pilgrimage. Sometimes we call it padayatra, and so pada means feet. And pied, you know, that's a French word, that means feet. So there's always this connectedness linguistically. The word walking comes from a Vulcan, which is an old German word, which has origins from Vulgati, Sanskrit. It means going to a destination, moving. You know. So it's fun. It's fun to look at these kind of things. Our bodies are made for walking. And that's what we're meant to do. And so what I would like to do is to relate to you some of the experiences that I went through walking across America, starting in 2015 and starting from Boston and going to San Francisco. And I'm hoping that will be inspirational, and how it is all connected to the medical world is that it's just good for you, and it's very natural for you, and it's very healing. First of all, I started walking, doing marathon walks in 1996. It was 95, and I was looking forward to the centennial of our Guru when he came to, well, if had he had lived, Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, Guru for the world, you can say, came to America, to Boston and New York, and he came with a good message, a message that was a carryover from Mahatma Gandhi, simple living, high thinking, and also a message that's carried through from great teachers, beginning from Brahma down to the present day. And that message is, again, simple living, high thinking. So what that means is that let's get simple, but let's be a little more complex in other areas. So my good friend Ambarish, who's also known as Alfred Brush Ford, he's the great-grandson of Henry Ford, I met him a few years ago. We were right here in Houston. We were sitting about there with those three ladies, lovely ladies are over there. No, you know, you don't have to look back, it's you. And we just had a frank discussion. And I said to Ambarish, I said, you know, I just want to say something. It's kind of a confession. I hope I won't hurt your feelings. But I don't like cars, you know. And so I don't like cars because of what they've done. They've destroyed neighborliness. They've done so much damage to the environment, etc., etc. I didn't get into a big purport with him, really. And then he said, relax, Maharaj. I don't like them either. Truly, you know. So it was 1995. I'm sorry, 1995, got it. And I was going through a personal difficult time. Someone mentioned, astrologically, I was going through a Rahu-Ketu period. Dark planets were influencing me. And I thought it was time to make a change, to do something a little different. But not in opposition to what a sannyasi or a monk is supposed to do. Monks are supposed to walk long distances, meet and greet people, and let's say, lose a little karma along the way, as well as some pounds. And let's say, go for a rejuvenation of sorts, and meet with the elements, maybe dance with the wind, etc. I'm giving you some dreamy scenarios. But really, that's what it was very much about. And then visit places of pilgrimage, holy places, Hindu temples, Buddhist temples, walking churches and so on like that, and being, let's say, very open and inclusive in my thoughts. So this is traditionally what monks and sannyasis have done, the likes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Shankaracharya and so on and so forth, you know. One thing that, a little joke that the first day I walked in Canada when I did my marathon was, I was with my brother who was with the Canadian Forces and his daughter, and we were joking around, you know, shot a few jokes out there. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side, etc. And then one joke came out from my niece, and she said, why didn't the dinosaur cross the road? And the answer was, well, there weren't any roads, okay? So there, you know, we're talking about a time that there were no cars, you know, in ancient times, so people just had a beautiful footpath to walk on, and that was fine. And you would connect with nature, you would learn so much from the environment that's around you. So anyways, 2015 marks a very special time, historically, for members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It was the 50th anniversary of when the Jaladuta ocean liner landed and posted itself at the Boston Pier in September. Srila Prabhupada, our guru, founder of the Hare Krishna movement, well, he would officially begin it a year later. He came off for a few hours, explored Boston, Western life, got a glimpse of that, and then went back on to board on the ship to make his way to New York. And so that's what we were commemorating. A whole group of us, members of ISKCON, we were on a boat that was rented for us, and we went through the Boston Harbor and talked about some of our experiences that we had and in our connection with this great soul monk, Srila Prabhupada. So my story is that I started in September, and I had a support person, because people wonder what is the methodology. I could backpack it and do it alone, but the idea really is to have some sangha, to have someone with you. And so I went, I started walking from the Boston Harbor, and killed a few, knocked off a few miles. And then the next day, day number 2, it was a very special day, Radhastami. It's the day of the goddess, consort of Krishna. And I had a few other people to join me. So a few other monks, brahmacharis we call them. And it was a beautiful experience. It was a nice, beautiful day, hot summer day in September. And it's Massachusetts, there's a lot of lakes and rocks around, and we were very, let's say, tempted to dive into one of those lakes, bodies of water. And so we were just ready to go in, to dive in. I said, wait a minute, what's that kind of like colorful, shiny object down on the bottom there? And we looked very close through the clear water, and there was a murti, a deity of Ganesh. And we thought, in Massachusetts? What's going on here? There must have been some South Indian family doing some rituals, and they submerged the deity in the lower waters. So we thought this was just a good sign. The brahmacharis, my juniors, they were saying, what should we do? I said, well, pull him out, dry him off, and he'll become a passenger. Well, he'll travel with us. And it's known that Ganesh is someone who removes obstacles on the path of devotion. So I thought, oh, great, this is just like some amazing sign or some kind of affirmation that we're doing the right thing. Okay, so I'm moving along, and I come to Hartford, Connecticut. And the reason I'm telling you some of these stories, the connection with people is very important. I met a young man, and he was Afro-American, and he was tall and lanky. He looked like Bob Marley, and he had dreadlocks. And we met, and he said, you know, I understand what you're doing. I want to go with you. And I said, well, it's not going to be that easy. We chatted for a little while. And he said, I still want to go with you. So he wanted, you know, a deal to be set here. I said, well, you did tell me that you have a girlfriend, and we're going to be on the road for a bit. I said, don't worry, I'll talk to her. You did tell me that you're staying with your mom, and she might be concerned about you. I said, I'll talk to her too. Said, you did tell me that you're working at a men's clothing store and that you're the #1 top salesman for several months in a row. I said, don't worry, I'll get a leave of absence. So he was very determined, and myself and support guy, Viviswan, who's from Michigan, we decided, okay, let's give him a try. So here I had an opportunity to walk with someone who we shared the same birthday together, and we're going to go for an experience and make our way from Boston to Butler, Pennsylvania. And why that is kind of significant historically and pilgrimage-wise, because our Guru Prabhupada had spent a month there before going to New York to start the mission in a dynamic way. So to Butler, Pennsylvania, then swinging back to New York City, following the route of Prabhupada. So that was our plan. So being with Trayvon, the Afro-American new friend, was nice. It was good to have a support guy with me. He's a rapper, and I taught him a lot of Sanskrit mantras. I was able to be a bit of a pundit and a teacher for him, a guru and a guide. And that's what walking allows for these things to transpire. So he was doing a lot of rapping on the road, and some people found us a little bit odd sometimes, you know, a guy with a bald head and wearing orange robes, and then somebody who looked a little bit like a drug lord. And we're walking down the street, and he's rapping, and I've given him new Sanskrit mantras to incorporate into the new songs that he's coming up with. It was great. It was really wonderful. So what was a concomitant factor to our walks, which made it very colorful, is that starting in New York, I've done Massachusetts, Connecticut, and now entering into a very slim strip of New York State. And you get tired when you're walking, so I took a nap at the end of a park or at the restaurant. Then I woke up and someone had called. So the authorities came. And they came in their usual way, looking a little bit tough. Said, okay, so we're wondering what you're doing here. I said, well, I'm doing a pilgrimage. I'm a monk. Well, we can see that. And I'm doing this walk across America. And this is an answer that, like when people they ask the question, why are you walking across America? This was one of my answers. I have a few answers. My answer was, I'm walking across America to make America great again. I'm not kidding. So, anyways, so the two officers, we keep chatting, and they get what I'm all about. You know, it's a pilgrimage. It's, you know, sadhus or like, you know, monks do this kind of thing. And so they were fine with it. I said, well, you know, we did get a call, at least one call. And I said, really, what was the call about? Well, you're suspicious, you know, I mean, you've got the orange clothes on. That's the clothes of jail prisoners, you know. And so people suspected that you're an escapee from a prison. So therefore we had to check you out. Okay, well now you know I'm the real deal. I'm okay, I'm fine, you know. So then I kept walking, and that was the start of an everyday encounter with authorities, with the police, which was just fine with me. The people that I meet the most are police, journalists, and also the people who will pull over, and they're not quite sure what I'm all about, but they're curious. They'll pull over their vehicle, it's a motorist, and they'll say, so would you like a ride? I say, well, I'm not taking any rides. I'm walking to San Francisco. You're what? I'm walking to San Francisco. No way. Okay. And then I explained, well, it's a pilgrimage, and I've walked across a few other countries already. I've got that under my belt, and now I'm doing America. It's a good time for me to be out here, right? And it's a little bit of, my motive is somewhat selfish. I'm going out here for inner development. I'm here to deal with the elements, the cold weather, the hot weather, the rain, sometimes snow, and sometimes black snow, which is called black flies and mosquitoes. And I'm just learning to take it all in and developing a kind of robustness, you know, helping me to understand that I'm not this body, that I have to be resilient through all situations and circumstances. So, you know, people get it. Well, that's pretty heroic. How many pairs of shoes do you wear out when you go across? What do you anticipate? You said, well, I did Canada 4 times, so it takes about 4 pairs of shoes. Well, that's interesting. And, you know, so anyways, you make a friend, and you leave them with a mantra card and, you know, some meditation that they can, you know, take with them, and you know, you leave them with something. So, and a good memory. So my experiences with the authorities was been a lot of fun. And I was in Ohio City. Here's how the walk worked. I did 45 days in 2015. Next year, I picked up back from where I left off, basically at Butler, Pennsylvania, and then went to Seward, Nebraska, right, the middle of the country. And then the next year, 2017, completed the walk right to San Francisco. So I was in Iowa City, which is a college town, and I was walking, and an officer pulled over and said, I got some calls. I said, okay, great. I'm kind of used to this, officer. I'll give you my name, here's, you know, I'll give you whatever information you need on me. And so we carried on, and it was, just made great friends. And I said, so listen, officer, can you do me a favor? Now that you've got my information, and people's doubts will be dispelled as to what I'm doing, and that I'm not an escapee from a prison. So could you call the officers in the next county and let them know what I'm doing? Okay, fine. So yeah, I'll do that for you, no problem. Okay. Next, usually we get a forecast of what the weather's going to be. Whoever I'm with, you know, support God. And we heard that all night long it was going to be drenching situation, rain coming down, and into the morning. So that's exactly what happened. That day I didn't wear my robes. I put on a t-shirt and sweatpants, and an umbrella, you know, an umbrella. But the wind was pretty high and mighty, and I decided the umbrella's not working. So I just said, forget this umbrella. I'm just going to accept the circumstances. I'm just going to take it all in. So rain on me, pour on me, fine, no problem. So the rain went, and then the wind picked up, started to dry things, and then an officer came on the side of to the side of the road. They said, hi. I said, hi, how are you? I got a call. I said, oh, that's very nice. I got a call that someone's walking. And I said, is there a problem? Is it a crime to walk? No, but people are people. They call and they complain. And I said, so what is the issue, your officer? I said, well, I know you're the monk and you're walking across America, right? We got the call yesterday. And so you see, yesterday where you were walking near a penitentiary. Today you're walking near a mental institution. So people are living in fear, you know? So those are the kind of things that transpired. I love going on the radio, live radio, and of course television was there too, and newspapers and whatnot. But I got onto a few radio live stations right at the studio. And now we're talking about moving ahead into the state of Utah, which in many ways was a very favorite state of mine, you know, for walking across America. And if you want to know the reasons, I'll tell you a little later on. But so I was in one place, it was where I'm trying to think of the name of the place exactly, where they have discovered a lot of fossils and bones of dinosaurs. You know, it's one of those places. So I went to a station, and they were playing country western music. Good. So I put in my, can I put in a request for a song? Said, sure. Said, okay, Johnny Cash, Walk the Line. Okay, great. So they played it, and then the interview went on, and it was just, it went on for quite some time, and the whole idea was, with the broadcast of my walking intentions, is to encourage the walking culture, to get people out of their cars, to take care of themselves, give the car a break, and do yourself a favor. Use the body for what it's meant for. Go for a healing. Go for the meditation. See the birds, see the animals, see the moose, see the geese, etc., etc. Love life, etc. That's what it's all about. So that's basically my message. And so the next day I got into another radio show, and right in the studio, and there was a lady, her name was Jenny. She was a broadcaster, and I was talking to her about something very interesting. We were talking about, I asked her, what kind of genre of music do you play on your station? Because yesterday it was country western. And she said, well, we play pop music. I said, pop? Oh, pop, that's very interesting. Well, in Sanskrit language is what I will follow. Pop means sin, right? So she said, okay, Swami, get the headphones on, hurry, we're on the air, okay. Okay, so we have somebody very special here on the air today, and he's walking right across the US, and his name is, let me see if I say it right, Bhakthi Marga Swami. You said it, Jenny, it was great. Okay, now, we had a nice conversation just before getting on the air here, and we were talking about the Sanskrit word, what is pop music in the Sanskrit language, what it means. So the Swami here said that pop means sin, and that's why we have the walking monk on the studio today to deal with our sins. It was kind of fun. We had a good laugh, and you know, it's amazing the kind of terrain you go through. I'm just let's move aside some of the people we met, go through some of the terrain, the incredible rock formations, and the awesomeness that comes out that you know, penetrates into your heart. You know, it's a humbling experience to walk into these areas of natural dynamics. And you cannot help to be humbled and to feel yourself, you're just a little speck in the universe, you know. And around every corner, there's something always interesting. And it's not always McDonald's, and, you know, it's something that, but there's people and there's interesting neighborhoods, and also some very affluent neighborhoods, and some very run-down neighborhoods. In fact, some of the places I went through, the communities are so broken down, culturally, socially, every which way. And I was just thinking, wow, the spirits are really low. And I was in one particular place, it was just east of Chicago. And this was a very vibrant community, you could see at one time by the buildings. Now they're boarded up or gutted out, and so much vandalism has taken place. There was a barber shop that was open, and by the barber shop was a guy by the name of Jim. I said, Jim, what's going on here? Most people, most places here in America, I don't see people walking anymore. Everybody's in a car. I've seen cars, but I don't see people. You know, but here a lot of people are walking. So he said something sad. Well, you know, man, when you're on an overdose, you ain't gonna get into a car and drive around, you know what I mean? So that was like, let's say, a sampling of what is going on in this wonderful country. Yeah, ghost towns, or at least half-broken town. Mining was the economy boost, economical power, but there is nothing to mine anymore. So these towns fall into decline. And you know, the drug culture has really escalated, and you can see that. I met some of those folks who are kind of down and out, and I felt good that I could maybe offer an alternative here. Please do some meditation. Let's keep trying. Let's keep working towards a more progressive stance in life. And so it was beautiful to meet those kind of folks. Wildlife. From wildlife, I learned a lot myself. There's a lot of lessons to be learned on the road. Lessons about regularity. More so in the north, like in Canada, you have the loon, and it makes this beautiful haunting cry. If you've never heard a loon before, just check it out online, just when you get a chance. Just hear the cry of the loon, and it's kind of haunting and spooky at the same time, but also it really penetrates to the heart. Regularity from the moose, the deer, they all come out at the same time, dusk and dawn. We learn creativity, and we learn the teamwork of, you know, beaver lodges and dams, and it just puts you in incredible awe when you see this yourself. One thing that I've also really appreciated by walking through nature, your head gets cleared up, the cobwebs in your mind get cleared up, and there's no doubt that you step into the 3 phases of time. It cannot be helped, and it comes out in a very pronounced way. Let me be more specific. Every day of our life, we enter into the 3 phases of time. Percentage-wise, I'm not sure what it is, maybe 35, 35, and 30. Stepping into the past, reminiscing, and maybe sometimes thinking about some of the things that you're kind of embarrassed about that you did, that you said, that you know, that humbles you. Oh, gee, I wish, what was I thinking when I did those things, you know? And you try to process it and say, I did that, I realize this, I hope I can make amends, and I won't do those kind of things again. So it's a very, you know, cleansing kind of process that you go through by you know, let's say, visiting the past. Now, what about the future? We all have, walking is a great time to contemplate the future and to dream away future projects. What am I going to do that will help improve the human condition? Those are the thoughts that are definitely there. In other words, I like some of the things I'm doing, but I'm certainly anticipating to do some more things that I can improve on. And what about the present? It's very important to, you know, to live for the moment. And I'll give a nice story on this particular topic. It was my first walk across Canada, and I was in the city of Halifax, and a lady came out, a reporter from the CBC, that's Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's like BBC, it's a big deal, you know, for her to come. And she came with a tape recorder. Remember those ancient, you know, mechanisms? She came with a tape recorder. And she asked me all the questions. Why are you walking? Well, it's for healing for the nation. And when did you start? So I told her. And how many pairs of shoes have you worn? I said, 4 pairs of shoes. And now that your walk is almost over, Swami, what is the greatest thing that happened on your walk? The greatest moment. And so she kind of got me there, and I went stage fright. And I really kind of froze. And I didn't know what to say. Fortunately, I wasn't on live on this interview. But I stood there for it seemed like the longest time. And I thought, what could I say? Could I talk about my bear encounters? Could I, you know, about almost being run over by, you know, several occasions by different people? What about the attack of the wasps? You know, I was dealing with the call of nature, and you loosened my robes a little bit, and then stabs in the back. So that could be kind of interesting, but slightly embarrassing. And so then, the answer came. A light bulb went off. And I said, oh, the greatest thing that ever happened is you're standing there in front of me, and I'm standing there facing you, and you're asking me this question, what is the greatest thing that ever happened? And that's the greatest thing that ever happened. You know? And I said, oh, I understand what you mean, like living for the moment. You know, so she got all excited, and I got excited. So living in the present is very important. We call that sattva-gun. Sattva-gun in our tradition, in Sanskrit. It means to be very much in the present, to pay attention to the details of the here and the now, and not to live too much in the past, and not to dream too much about the future. So I was able to make a friend with another journalist, and this way, you know, life goes on. How are we doing for time, by the way?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay, we're doing good. All right, so one of the nicest things about walking long distances is to get lost. To get lost. And walking through, it wouldn't always be on the side of the road or the highway where you meet many people, but it would be sometimes through nature paths that will run parallel to the highway. So myself and associate at the time came to join me, Anujana, who's the ISKCON Communications Director worldwide. We got lost. Okay, what's the good thing about being lost? Well, the good thing about being lost is that you get found. And it's maybe analogous to here we are in the material world, and we're a little bit lost, we're a little bit confused. And you kind of work your way out, keep going through some trails, and try to find your way out, you know, eventually. It takes a lot of brain power and hope, and maybe even prayer. Please help me get out of this predicament. We don't see any people, there's no cell phone connections, and the sun is kind of going down, and you know, you just want to be able to be rescued. And so those are good moments, you know. So it's like voluntarily putting yourself into a fix where you have to kind of get yourself out of the bind, you know, to get unlocked, undone. So walking affords all those kind of things, you know. It's making friends, it's living more the simple life, and I was always a little bit taxed by the rich temple food, so I thought, let me go on a long walk, and let's eat some wraps, and also maybe learn some of the wild veggies that grow out there. And I experimented. I had some of the best curried sabjis, vegetable preparations, from the portions of the cat tails, and wild sweet peas, and nettle, and there's so many other things out there that we're not even aware of that are tastier, better for you. You know, the wild stuff out there allows you to be wild. Okay, so walking a long distance like this it might be something that not everyone will venture into. But I'm a little bit of a wild child in that regards. But out of it you come out more like a mild child. You know? And after the whole experience, and after the first walk I did across Canada, I became an addict, and I said, I have to do this again. And I said, I can't miss America, I have to do the US. My buddies down south of the border, they live there, and I want to see them, and I want to see them in the traditional way. Walk, and also walk your talk, all those things, and it's always a beautiful experience. So I would like to encourage more of the car-free, carefree kind of lifestyle, and I'd like to propose, you know, to a world which is really kind of like bound by ball and chain by the auto industry. I'd like to say, let's have one day of the year, no cars, only for emergency, and watch the magic that will happen. You'll start to talk to your neighbors. No, you'll start to see things that you couldn't see before. You'll see them as they're meant to be seen. You'll see things up close that weren't there before. So we have basically created a world which is, let's say, harmful to our health, harmful to our mental state, because we're boxed in these automobiles, shiny coffins, this may be a good word. 1.25 million people die from automobile accidents on the planet every year, and many more are injured. So we live in an age where we really idolize the automobile, but I think we should take a little more time to look at this and say that this is an object of glory and do something about it. What do you think? I think that many of us can begin like walking clubs, and I know that already exists, and there's a big craze about barefoot walking, and you know, we're living quite a pampered life, and you know, the chances of everyone jumping on board is kind of minimal. But in any case, let's try. And I know for me, it's 20 miles a day, average walking. I was in Canada, I was doing 42 kilometers average, but my knees, my body is a guru and it's saying, slow down, Mr. Swamiji, you know. And so you take directions from the guru of the body, but I'm just telling you, the body likes to walk. And the only thing I feel I'm a little bit unhappy about with this presentation this weekend that we're all going through is that we're all sitting down, you know. But I think it might be hard to execute presentations while walking. But I don't know, I'll give it another thought. Maybe you will too. Thank you so much.